I've been trying to make some videos about anything that comes to my mind to try and document some of the things that have happened to me. And the purpose of it is, if it works for anyone, to get some sort of grasp of what my experience might be related to theirs, then they won't feel so alone that these things happen just to one person in particular. I mean, we will be surprised of how many people in this world goes through the same thing every day, but we feel so lonely that we think this is just happening to us in this moment, and then our world comes down to, oh, well, this is the end of my life. And that's exactly what I thought when I lost everything I was working for in my marriage. And I would say not just my marriage, but basically everything that happened during their marriage was invested for all the dreams I had. When I was a teenager, all the dreams I had for my father, for my family, they were all scattered when I got divorced. But there's a before and after, and that's what I'm trying to document here, because we can say, all right, it's about divorce. No, I don't think so. I believe that it's more like, something that reminds me is like the story of Jesus Christ. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just trying to find an example that most people know, instead of using a different story that I might remember, which I really don't right now because the Bible is the one that I've read the most. When Jesus died, there was a before and after. So the day that he died is not what he is remembered for only. He's more remembered by all the miracles he had projected when, sorry about my English, trying to find the right words, that he had done before he died and afterwards, like all these disciples that came after his death and resurrection, and all the lives and stories that he changed before and after that. So the death of Jesus was, yes, it was very well remembered, but again, there is this, how you call, there is a there is a trip that he made before he got there, and then the things that everyone follow up afterwards. And so this is what it means to me. This is not about a divorce. This is about all the things that happened during my life before the divorce and then afterwards. It's like a shift, like you say shift, like a change, a very dramatic change that made me open my eyes and see life in a different perspective when giving myself out there to other people. So I was explaining the way I met my ex-husband on the previous journal, And in today's journal, again, please remember this is more like a self-reflection while I am doing my data clerk's job, than any other type of objective that you might believe this is for. This is just, please, if you don't like it, just move on and get something that will help you more on what you're looking for. So, Wednesday, okay. So yeah, I'm working from home remotely. It's a nice thing to do. I mean, it doesn't give me much reliability, because sometimes I feel like, ooh, I don't know, if there's a crisis or something, I'll be the first one to leave because I'm the one from home, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, I'm working from home, and I decided I wanted to spend some time while doing this data clerk's job in doing something else as well, which I always dreamed of when I was a little kid, like a teenager, not a little kid, but a teenager, which was to make videos of, especially dedicated to educate people on whatever. It don't mean that it has to be math, language, etc. It can be anything. And this time, this job do not require much thinking. It's just data entry. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. So data entry for me comes easy. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I think it's fantastic that this house where I'm at now is very quiet. There's not construction happening right now, but if there is, there's gonna be a noise that is really far away from here. So it won't really affect much, just a little bit maybe. But anyways, you get the idea. And I will explain more about the new house where I'm living, and I hope that while I tell the story, when I get to that point, then you'll remember how we got to this house. So I think the last thing I spoke about my dating with my ex-husband was that when I met him, he was not the kind of man that I thought would be like the ones I am used to seeing in other relationships, where women were cheated on and they forgave them, because that's the thing about men. All men will cheat on, so if you don't forgive them, you'll end up alone. I think I was starting to get afraid of being alone because I didn't have any serious relationship up until him. So that was a real worriness, but it was yet not a big deal. I think I was starting to resignate myself or make myself believe that is it. I'm not gonna have a man. I won't know what sex is like. I was curious because my friends were like, wow, that's fantastic. And everyone's like, is the prohibited fruit, blah, blah, blah. So I met him. I was yet not thinking about sex, but yes, I met him. As I said, he said that his brother wasn't from that religion, so he don't have many women, blah, blah, blah. We're not like that. All right, so three siblings, three brothers. He was the oldest one. He is, because he's alive, thank God. He's the oldest one. And his youngest one just had a date. And he was speaking to me about it. He also told me how his youngest brother, the one that was recently dating back in that time, had an issue where he was in love with someone, but that person rejected him. That was a very weird thing to hear from a man back in that time, when I just heard that men were just cheating on women. I didn't know that it could be the way around. And then after a few weeks, like I said, some of the guys in the class were telling him, like, you better move because there is another guy trying to get her. And yeah, the guy was very attractive. I was speaking with him sometimes. He would call me to his chair, his school chairs or stuff. We call it butaca, which is like the chair where you sit when you're taking classes, and it has a little thing there where you put your notebooks and stuff. And I'll come to him and I'll talk to this guy. He was from the countryside where my father was born. And so I would talk to him sometimes. And then the other guys were trying to tell my ex-husband, Ruben, I'll say his name because I think it's much easier. It doesn't sound so weird as if always saying ex-husband, because I don't want it to be like, I don't want to think of him like an ex-husband. It's just someone who happened to be in my life, and I don't hate. So I'm grateful that that at least I had a good experience to learn from. And also it's good to know that you were able to love a person that way, because then it's like you did, you have a good heart, right? So Ruben decided to step in and say, okay, oh, wait a minute. Oh, you know what? We'll have to find a name for him, because I don't want this video to be watched and then people get offended because I'm mentioning names. So sorry about that. Let's cut that off the video. Of course not, because I'm not editing this. I don't have time for this. So my ex-husband, back to it, he decided to ask me out for a movie. I don't even remember what movie it is. I wonder if he does. We were at the Malecon. After the movie, Under the Moon. He kissed me. It felt like, wow, he had beer, and the beer was pointy, and so it was scratching my face. So I was like, oh, my first time I was thinking about this man, this guy already, as if the rest of my life. I was like, am I going to be kissing him like this the rest of my life, scratching my face? And I'm like, okay, but I still liked him. There are stuff that even at that young age I was still willing to accept, but something had to be done about that Ponty Bear. It didn't really cause a lot of issues, because with time, I think it was just that day that he was not really maintaining his bear, so he might have that day not had the time to do it, or maybe it was not time, because it's done like some people do it like every week or every 2 weeks or something like that, so just to avoid damage to their skin. So but that day happened that he was really scratching my face, and I was like, will it be like this forever? And anyways, so that's the type of way I think about relationships. Before, when I was dating, I would be thinking already like, if something didn't work out that day, if something didn't work out during the beginning of the relationship, then I'll think about it, and it will turn me down or turn me off or whatever. Because I wouldn't think about a relationship of, okay, just for a couple of days so that I won't be alone. I didn't want that. I was willing to wait, no matter how long. I waited until I was 19 years old to have any type of step forward into intimacy. So basically for me, the waiting was not a big deal. Even after I got divorced, it took me a year, more than a year, 2015, 16, wow. Almost 2 years to have sex. Did I? I don't know. No, not almost 2 years. It was like 1 year to have sex. Yeah, literally 1 year, because it was December 31st, my last sex with him, and with my ex-husband, and then December 31st with this other dude I was dating, who was like the worst mistake I made. But yeah, I decided to wait, so I could wait a little more. I didn't care, but that was not something I was gonna turn him down for. And I already turned down another guy that I liked at the university because of his breath. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm too picky. Let me see what's going on here. I really didn't like even the way he dressed. I mean, my ex-husband dressed like, uh, he didn't have that many clothes either. Me neither, because I used to have like the same pants, the same pair of jeans, lime green jeans. Everyone remembers me for that. Neon green or something like that. A pair of jeans, and I looked great because I had a beautiful ass. But and I think that's why I use it so much. I did have other clothes, but I think for me that was not a big deal for a long time of long period of my life. I never had any interest on dressing or clothing or any of that. But then like I said, it's just small details that comes to my mind, but I it was not something I would turn down a man for. So the main thing after all of that, because I didn't like his appearance much, the main thing about all of Ruben was I thought he was not gonna cheat. I thought he was not gonna go into another woman and sleep outside of the house or do some sort of that, because he was not the type of sex guy that only wanted to have sex with me. That's another thing. I liked it, and then I didn't, because then we didn't have any sex often, as much as I wanted to. It's like every 2 weeks shit. It was crazy. And then and that was one of the reasons why, I mean the main reason why I still dated him and was willing to go forward for a long, very long, indefinite end of the time. That was my thought, that this was gonna be forever, ever. Yeah, right. And then it happened that we dated after classes. After classes were done in 9 months, I learned English a little bit thanks to Medina, Carlos Medina, my savior. He told me English. It was a funny story too, and you will know it as well. We will get to that. That's a beautiful story about how I learned English with Medina. So we were good. And then we have the thing about him finding a job after classes. Me too. We even went together to try to find a job. We went to different interview. That was a red flag too. I'll get to that. Yeah, I'll get to a lot of things. Yeah, and so then but before we finish class, let's talk about that a little. Yeah, I changed to the afternoon. I explained because of my transportation issues and stuff like that. I had in my class I had to go to intermediate instead of advanced, because the night shift was advanced, but the afternoon shift didn't have any advanced. It was only intermediate English. But I had to do it because I had no choice. My transportation issue was extremely bad. So it was either that or getting killed. Because sometimes I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get home. Bus was the last one I would catch was I was barely able to take it, and it was only one going that far. I sometimes had to let Reuven go first because mine wouldn't get there before he could go. So I was like, you shouldn't be here paying for this nightmare waiting on the bus when you could have been home like a long time ago. But he still waited with me, and that was a good thing. He was always a good guy, always went on and beyond for everything with me. I think that's what he was taught. That was his education, what he was wired for. Things changed, but he still have a good heart. Still have it, it's just not the match. Sometimes even if you meet someone is good person and that have a good heart, just personalities not, it just changes. You grow apart. And I didn't believe that before, but yep, people grow apart and they get unhappy and they turn to be what they used to be before, and they don't treat you the same way. They don't do the good things to you. They listen to other people. There's no longer intimacy between you two. There's no longer trust. There's no longer friendship. Everything is gone, and they start to blame you about bullshit. They started to show you the dirty clothes and all the stuff that you left, and it turns ugly, really, really ugly, because you get hurt by someone who used to accept you and approve everything from you, and all of a sudden this person becomes your enemy, total stranger. Like, wow, really, is that you? Let me see again, because I cannot believe it. And that's exactly what happened. So he was a good guy. He would wait for me. He would sometimes walk all the way down to the station where the buses were at, so I could catch the bus without being left out because it was too crowded or something. And it was a long walk. So yes, I couldn't, even though I wanted to, I couldn't do the night shift English, so I had to do the afternoon. And therefore, I started a whole bunch of other stuff with my extra classes with other people, other practices, since I couldn't practice with my boyfriend Reuven at the time anymore because he was in night class and I was the afternoon class. Well, I went for other resources. I went to sometimes taking classes in the morning in the Zona Colonial. I would just walk around, ask people to practice with me, like especially tourists, because they would, we all think, okay, you're a tourist, so you should speak English if you're white and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't ashamed of nothing. I was so extrovert. It was like, I even sold stuff sometimes when I was little, a teenager, because I was ashamed of nothing. Then I went there to Zona Colonial to practice my English with the strangers, to just, hey, can you practice English with me? Like, some people will laugh, like, really? Yeah, I did that. And then sometimes some people will be like, oh, who are you? Or some of them will look at me like, is she trying to rob me or something? But I never had those issues. I was like, yeah, most 99% of the people will be like, yeah, let's practice and blah, blah. And will find it funny because I look like a 15 years old. Not really old. Am I 19 years old? I was looking too young. Especially because I didn't use makeup. I didn't dress like a pro or any of that. So my physical appearance was really very, very virgin, like very natural. Therefore, I looked like a kid. And it's not a good thing, though, when you start to work and you see that you start to get some responsibilities and people look at you like you're just a kid. we will get to that. So yeah, we took classes for 9 months. He'll come see me on my recess at 3:30, I think. Yeah. And then he will wait until he'll start his class at 6 p.m. I don't know what he did during the time I was in class after the recess, because I had only 30 minutes of recess. So, but I think he was studying, doing practices and stuff like that. Yeah, he would find a way to do something. Meanwhile, very clever guy. And then he met some friends there. He continued to have good friends. He made good friends out of the team that he had during the night. Even after we married and had a kid and all that, he would chat with them sometimes. It wasn't as much because we didn't have this WhatsApp instant message and stuff like that. We had like emails and stuff like that. Not much to follow up with. And I was glad he made some friends out of his team and all that stuff. I myself didn't make any friends from the classes I was at in the afternoon. I think I was so focused on just studying that I didn't try to keep any friends or contact anyone afterwards. And I did learn good English. We did have a good time, Ruben and I. I would go see him at his house sometimes, spend some time, study, see him watching some video games. It was boring, but it was okay. I think that was where I first noticed, didn't notice anything actually. I just was trying to learn how this thing works about dating. It was very, very childish, very innocent. I wouldn't say childish. I would say very innocent. Very, very innocent. His father approved me right away. Mr. Jose was like an angel to me all the time. His brothers were okay with it. They never had any issues. His mother, up until one point, she was never showing me any rejections, but never was like so effective. Anyway, but his her kids, her precious, would need to have a perfect person. So anyway, so yeah, we dated. We talked on the phone a lot during the weekend. When the English classes finished, we were still on it. He made a comment about the previous relationship he had before me, which was with I forgot her name. But she was a nice girl, and he said that she cheated on him and she saw her kissing someone else. I think that was another thing that made me like be attracted to him, because he was not the cheater, he was the cheated on. And so for me, it was like, wow, I mean, this guy's not like everyone else cheating on their women. Actually, it's the way around it. Stuff like that, yeah, I innocently thought would be the perfect guy for me. I mean, it was not a bad relationship. I mean, it was all good until then, and it wasn't his fault.